welcome back to StrangeCast, Player One vs. World's Life is Strange podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adnan, and my co-host Adam is here. Adam, you here?
I'm here. I'm an Xbox boy, but I still haven't played Starfield.
You haven't played Starfield yet?
No, I haven't. I just been way too busy with music writing and depression. It's like I can't. I might have played it by the time this episode comes out, like a little bit, but yeah, no, haven't even touched Starfield yet.
Oh wow, I'm quite surprised with that.
I know.
I thought you would have been on that, but yeah, you not played Starfield. Currently, I'm in a heat wave, so just a context as well. I was going to dress up and like change my hair and change my t-shirt, but you're getting my scruffy little AJ Styles top for the video listeners and my hair down because it's currently a heat wave in the UK. Because we're recording the 9th of September is Saturday, so if anyone is from the UK who listens to this podcast, you'll understand that it's like scorching hot. And I've always said to people, like, whatever degree you think it is in the UK, it's always about 10 times worse because our houses aren't built to like handle heat. They're built with the purpose of keeping heat in it. So when it gets to a heat wave level, it's like it's pretty hot. So do bear with us on this. But anyway, thank you for joining us. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. But before that, as always, do please consider dropping a subscribe, turn notifications, like the video and share with your friends. Helps you support the channel more than anything else. Helps keep up to date with our content. And StrangeCast is always available on all podcast services. So we're available on Apple Podcasts. We're available on Spotify with a video version. We're available on all podcast services. So you can check us out on there. And also do follow us on Spotify. We're close to about 150 followers. So that is great to know. And thank you as well, as always, for supporting the podcast. So, Adam,
that's
first
me.
piece of news?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to kick off things in style. So we're going to kick off things with none other than Michel Koch at Don't Nod Montreal. Sorry, because this is very exciting news on top of the news that we had previously. So Michel tweeted, and I quote, "Great memories from this late summer mocap session. I had a blast co-directing it with the great Philip Bark and working with our awesome team. Now let's put all those new animations and scenes in the game." So we have that. We have a nice 2 photos as well, and we actually have our first look at the actors as well from the game, which is quite a sight as well. So obviously Michel's there, Luke's there, Philip Bark's there, other developers are there, Marion's there, Kathy's there. You'll see them all in the photo, but obviously there's another photo with 4 of the actors from the game after a mocap session shoot, which is quite interesting. It's quite it's picked up steam here. And just to confirm as well, because Luke Bagados did tell us that there were no wraps on the set last night.
There were no sandwich wraps?
There were no sandwich wraps. But for clarification, it wasn't "it's a wrap." Yes. It's not "it's a wrap" as in everything is done. It's like "it's a wrap" on like a shoot session. So, and I kind of get what he means with that as well. I was kind of a bit like, is it a wrap in terms of just a shoot for the day, or is it a wrap in
that's
general
what I said
sense? Like
the last show, I was just like, "It's a wrap" could mean many different things. It's just like, I don't think that "it's a wrap" could mean it's a wrap on the game because like it's way too early. But I'm a little disappointed that there were no sandwich wraps. I'm a little disappointed.
Just a little bit. But the thing is, though, with that, when you say it as well, because if I remember correctly, memory serves me, the first Life is Strange was shot in mocap labs in France. And I believe they did it in about 7 days, all the mocap.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, so It wasn't a long period of the mocap shooting because I remember as well, there's very few actors on the set for that. There was Gabriella, Serena, I think I can't remember the guy's name, and there was like maybe 1 or 2. There's very few that they had for mocap because like they all played their characters. So it's like Gabriella did Chloe and she did Victoria X, and same with like Serena, she did like Max and she did this character and that character. So they did quite a lot of them. So it's like universally they were able to just do mocap for a lot of the characters with just very few actors, and it wasn't a long process. But nonetheless, we have this piece of news which has come along. Nicely done from Michel. I replied with my excitement to Michel, and you know what Michel replied to me with, Adam?
Little eyeballs.
Just little eyeballs. That's it. That's all he replied with. I was like, this man.
Here's your challenge, though, Adnan. Can you name any of the Power Rangers in the shot here?
I can, because, and I'll say this now. One of the actors Olivia Lepore has
Yes.
become my new favorite actor of all time, because on her Instagram, she basically tagged every person in each person. And I was like,
Oh.
Olivia, you are the greatest at saving me time, not getting egg on my face, and I can basically just navigate you through who is who. So Olivia, thank you very much. Yes. But before we come on to the actors, though, because obviously there's a lot to take away from this, I was very excited with the image as well, like just like in general, like because it's giving us more. Just even like you get like little slivers of this, it starts to put things together, and also as well, like I kind of expected actors reveals right now a little bit, because like when they did the first Life is Strange, they were tweeting pictures, and like there was pictures of like there's a really a picture you can always notice where it's Gabriella and Serena on set, and there's like videos and stuff. There's like in the build up of it, they were kind of like revealing who's like just in sense of mocap actors, not who's who. But like anyway, one of the things I picked up on as well was I'm just trying to find this image.
Yes.
So actually, I'll come back to that in a second.
Okay.
But one thing I'll say to you actually, Adam, is do you know when I spoke to you about the fact that we had that image of Montreal in the mocap studio from a while back?
Yes.
And we were talking about it. And when I spoke to you as well, I said to you, like, oh, it wasn't too long ago. Do you want to take a guess at what episode we talked about that? It's a picture of, I think it was Michel, Luke, Marsha, and I think it was Mary that were in there on the mocap set, and they had like masks on and stuff. Do you want to take a guess at what episode that was?
Episode of StrangeCast, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say. So what are we on? 51, 52,
53.
We're on 53.
I believe we're on 53. Otherwise, I'm gonna get egg on my face for the way I introduced this. But I think it's episode 53.
I'm gonna say it was episode 32.
It was episode 9 of StrangeCast.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. It was. I'm pretty sure it was 9 when I scrolled all the way down through the videos just to look for it, because it's in the thumbnail. I was like, it's episode 9. We were talking about the first mocap shot we saw where they were in a mocap studio. It was episode 9, and I was like, wow. I was like, has it been that long?
That's wild. It's a little wild, yeah.
So
it's been in development for a good while, yeah.
Oh, this game's been like, I think, because like even if you put a timeline out as well with Marsha leaving Don't Nod Montreal, I think they're very far like she's done a lot of work on this game before prior to leaving for ADS. I think like she's worked heavily on it. So it's like at this point, like it's pretty clear where the projects are.
Yeah.
So one more thing as well before we talk about the actors, Mary Pulio had oh god, this is where the technical issues start. My iPad has just decided to freeze, and I had her image up. Oh, here you go. Mary Pulio had tweeted, had put on Instagram, and I'm just trying to find. She is the cinematic artist, and she's been working the mocap with the other members of the team. Put in a caption, "Hey, 15-year-old self, we checked our live stream on our list with this amazing team. Hope you're proud. We made it." And it's one of the photos it's both of the photos that Michel had used. So I just wanted to put that out there, because Mary has been posting things on Instagram about the shoots. So Adam, actors.
Yes.
Actors. So we'll go with Olivia first, because she thankfully tagged everyone, and this is my greatest part. So in the thumbnail, you'll see these actors. And if you want to go on Twitter, you can also find the images. You can find them on Instagram, etc. I will try and put it as a visual aid here, but I think it'll mess with our layout. So bottom right is obviously Olivia.
Yes.
And she got a little 2-piece sign, as you will. So next to Olivia, and the person standing next to Olivia is, I just like the photo, is an actor called Andrea Carter.
Okay.
So they're standing next to Olivia, and like Olivia is crouched with the other person, and the person that is crouched, they are, I'm just trying to get the name right. They are Natalie Liconte, which I hope I pronounced right. So that is Natalie. And then finally, the person standing on the far left in light blue dots is an actor called Amelia Sargerson.
Okay.
I hope I've got that right. So that is our 4 actors. Apologies for like the slow pacing, but this also comes down to my loading of my iPad and also the names. So that is the 4 characters, the 4 actors. Sorry, characters. The 4 actors we have in this game after a shoot in mocap. I believe that there's obviously some maybe reference that Andrea's doing there in the game. We'll see.
Yes,
I think there'll be a reference to their character in the game at some point. So what I want to say to start with, Adam, this confirms to me from what I can tell that they won't be doing facial capture. So I don't think they're going to be. They haven't got the dots on the face.
Oh yes, yeah, good catch.
So one of the things that I've like pieced together was that I didn't know if they would go down the same route as what Deck 9 have done with performance capture. And obviously, like this is financed by Don't Nod specifically. It costs a lot of money to do performance capture. And there was tweets before and stuff by Michel where it was like, I think he had a recording booth with a mic set up. And obviously, Life is Strange 1 and 2 were motion capture. So I think that the idea is that they're going to do the motion capture scenes like this, get all the animations done, and then they'll do the VO stuff. So I don't know if these actors will play their respective characters specifically in the game, but it could be someone else doing the audio completely.
So on Olivia's photo on Instagram, there's a gentleman that says, little mocap, what's this for? Olivia replies, I'll let you know when it comes out, sunglassy face.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, looks like 2 of the actors replied with hearts. So
and so I wonder if these actors will play their characters in the game for like audio and stuff, because like anything can happen. It's interesting because obviously Philip Barker is with them there now. So it's like Philip Barker's been working with Michel and the other developers on mocap, and I assume he's obviously going to be in the VO booth with them. And I think like if you can kind of get based on what's happening here in the way that they've been talking in terms of tweets and in the general sense as well, like more in the sense of the general sense where they've been like, oh, we got the animations, let's start seeing it in the game and stuff. I think it's going to be very similar to the first Life is Strange and the second Life is Strange, where animations are done separately with the actors and then they'll record the audio, and it means that it's not necessarily it's going to be one of these actors that'll do it. Because I had that chance to speak to Gabrielle from the first Life is Strange, and like she was Chloe's mocap actor, but she was not Chloe as voice.
Yeah, so, I'm looking these people up on IMDb just to see if they played like roles rather than like just mocap. And oh, okay. So looks like Amelia has done a few things. It doesn't look like Olivia. Olivia has done Blue Moon, but Amelia, I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm just looking them up just to see like if there's anything like not significant. I shouldn't say that.
I believe because I believe that they're all homegrown actors in Canada.
Oh wait, Andrea Carter has been on the show Chucky.
Oh really?
So there you go. Yeah, no, they've done some things. Yeah.
Natalie is in the Expanse in the TV show, which we'll be talking about the Expanse later in for the game updates that we've been covering. But Natalie's in the Expanse. From what I read in the Expanse, was a character in a gang of someone's in the Expanse. But Natalie is in the Expanse. Obviously, again, like I'm trying to rephrase this, like nothing like Star Wars or like major franchise. We're not talking like that's what you mean when you're looking for like major credits in terms of like big franchises or blockbusters.
I'm just seeing like what their resume looks like.
Yeah, because I don't think they're gonna ever have those kind of actors, and I think like they're keeping to that same ethos as like, do you like when Life is Strange built stars and it built
Natalie has, or sorry, which one? Yeah, Natalie has been in Outriders, the game, and also New Tales from the Borderland.
Oh really?
Looks like that.
I never played New Tales. Is it even out, New Tales?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But Outriders I played, and that was cool. But yeah, No, Natalie has done a good number of things, including the Titans show they were in.
So I think that they're keeping to the same vein as the first Life is Strange and Life is Strange 2, where you build stars. Essentially, you have like actors from any just like rising stars, rising actors, because like they're not going to go and get like a Cara G, or they're not going to go and get like Jean-Claude Van Damme. If you've seen the Mortal Kombat trailer that they recently released, they're not going to get like established massive actors. Like budgets are a real thing, and they're going to get homegrown actors who fit the game that they're building. And I think it's quite interesting just to like learn about them. I believe that they're all homegrown. I believe they're all from Canada, from last time I checked, or from the ones that I did check. But it is quite interesting to see who's who, because as I said to you before, one of the things that I've been doing more than anything else is that it's now kind of like thinking, what place do these people have in the game, and what place do the characters have in the game, and where does this take the story? Because obviously we've talked about theories and everything else in between it, so it's like, hang on a minute, it's like who's who. So 4 characters all on set at the same time. Something tells me that this game is going to be a little quartet of a group.
Yes,
and it has to be that. So I don't know if they're all. I don't know if they're all siblings in the game. I don't know if they're all friends. From what I believe, and when I looked on Google, Natalie is non-binary. So whether Natalie's character is non-binary in the game is a different question, or whether Natalie's character, for example, is a trans character is a different question in the game, because like Don't Nod has obviously done a transgender character before, and tell me why. So potentially we could have a transgender character or a non-binary character in this game.
To answer your question on like, are they all Canadian? It's probably yes, because I'm looking at Amelia Sargison's agency, the Ground Floor, and they're all based in Ontario. So yeah, it's most likely Canadians, no Philadelphians, which is very upsetting. But it would be still cool if it was based in Philly, in my stomping grounds. But it is what it is. I don't know. But why make me happy? Why would you do that?
Well, if it is based in Philly, you can one day ask them as well if they learned the Philly dialect, or if they're like ever visited Philly.
If they use the word John like wrong in the game, I will be very upset. Many times have television shows use John the wrong way, and I'm just like, okay, just because you say it doesn't mean you're Philly, okay, but whatever. But it's still possible. It's based in Philly, so who knows?
How do you feel about like where I've put with this? Like, because I've moved on to Fairy level, like Fairy level 101 at this point. Like on Olivia's there are more images in terms of mocap.
Yes,
but there's something more to this image that meets the eye. I think it gives you more substance of where the game's going. I still think it's a reunion of people. I think it's a reunion of people.
That's why I was trying to look at like some of their credits to see if like anything's interconnected, but I don't know. Like it's such a modge-podge of actors that you can't really tell. Like there's no real big connection here. There's not a lot to go off of.
Isn't there?
I don't know. Like that's the thing. At least we know that there's 4 mocap actors.
So, like, but my thing here is that, for example, this is a mocap shoot, for example, from a day, and 4 of the actors have turned up here. 3 are actresses. If we're going for the kind of like, if we're putting labels on it, 3 actresses, 1 non-binary actor. Now, it would be safe to assume that the actresses are going to be playing potentially female characters. Like, I don't think they're obviously going to do the mocap for the male characters. And then you also have a non-binary actor who could do the mocap easily for a female character, and also a non-binary character or a transgender character. I think that the variations are open here for me in terms of like, maybe I'm digging myself a little bit of a hole here, but I'm thinking about like this gives you context a little bit for me in terms of characters that are going to be in the game. I think there's more than meets the eye here, because it's like, for me, if we take this nice little quartet of actors that we have here, and I'm trying to think of the theories that we had in that episode, because I don't know what you thought about where, because I know I'm firmly leaning towards your Philadelphia idea, Pennsylvania idea. Sorry.
Well, Philly,
yeah, Philly, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. I think I'm leaning towards that, because I have to take your kind of like, where your position is, because like American aesthetic a lot better than me in terms of like during the household we saw and everything else with him. And I think like, funnily enough, I believe Luke did travel to like Penn.
He traveled to Philly.
Yeah, and I feel like
he was in Philly.
Yeah, and I think that was for another reason, but I feel like there's something there that with them being in Canada, I feel like they have gone to the US again and set something there, and they just moved to a different area of the US. But in itself, though, the conversations are having that now, this as well, and I don't know why I keep saying as well, it part 2 screamed to me for some reason, whatever reason it was, that film screams to me, and it was like part of the kind of theory idea I had for this game. And it's like when I see 4 people here now, and it's like, hang on a minute, it's like this just feels like people coming back together, and your story is going to get told through a lot of those videotapes, because videotapes are in definition as well, like, because like we live through a different time period, and I think that's the fact that we had videotapes at our home, and like on them as well, like my brother's first birthday was on them, my sister's first birthday was on them, the old archaic like cameras that you had, they would have like videos in them, you record it and you could like transfer it over. It's kind of like a documentation or something, a video. Like we used to record TV shows, and you don't have you're kind of like a little bit like, if you're a new generation, if you're Gen Alpha, you're Gen Z, you won't understand the appreciation that a video tape brought you, because it was universal of like, I record TV shows from it, I can record like live TV shows from it, I can record home videos on it, I can record all this. And I think like, because of like it part 2 and also Resident Evil 7 and the way that Resident Evil 7 used videotapes, I feel like something is going to get told in the past. And I just have a feeling that these 4 characters come back together in different ways. It could potentially be 2 sisters. One is non-binary later on in their life. It wouldn't rule out that idea of it. And like the rest are all friends or something, or all of them are siblings. I think that for whatever reason now, when I see like this thing, more dots align for me. And I think like that's why I've kind of like taken away from what I've seen.
I'm starting to think that maybe this game is actually based in New York. And they're all friends. And there's a coffee shop. Follow me here. No one told them that life would be this way. Maybe some clapping. There could be clapping in this game. And they were on the break, kind of thing. That's my theory. That's my theory. Maybe. But who knows? I guess we'll find out.
Friends is painfully relatable now when you're in your 30s, by the way.
It really is. It's so bad. It's so bad how relatable
I can't watch it now. It just makes it like when they speak about certain things, I'm like, that's what you meant when I was watching when I was a kid. I was like, all right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, come on, like, hold me on this theory. I feel like I'm taking a lot more from this picture in terms of like there's something here that like the dots are starting to connect, because I don't think there's going to be like loads more motion capture actors. Like there'll be maybe a couple here and there. Like obviously, I imagine there'll be like some male characters that they'll have. In terms of male actors actually portraying male characters, or whichever way they're going to go about it. But I think there's more to this image that meets the eye. I think it gives you an idea of it. I think there'll be 4 characters at the helm of it. And yes, no.
I have no idea.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah,
I live for this, man. I was like sat here.
Yeah, like that's the thing. I don't want to like say anything more,
I'm really excited for it, man. And I was looking at Olivia's image. I was like, there's something there, because like even one of the images where it's like they have like casual poses, it's fine. But the one where Andrea's doing this with her hands down on 2 of the actors, that will be a reference in the game somewhere, because obviously they're doing the mocap, they know about it. But I think like that's going to be a reference somewhere in the game. I think there's going to be something that will link to that. But okay, so I don't know where we're picking up from here. We've had a couple of technical issues from the beginning, and hopefully things get better. But I'll kind of just like revert to it, because Adam couldn't like hear me from before. But I was like, do you have any theories on this? Because I've been sitting on these like images, like there's like all kinds of like theories manifesting in my head.
Yes.
Any fairies?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying that, like, oh, do I have any?
This has been a disaster from start to finish.
Yeah.
No, do you have any fairies? Because I've got like loads of fairies.
Yeah, sorry, I was reloading your notes on my page because we closed our browsers and all that, so just kind of like resetting up everything.
So did you hear my theories at least in the original recording?
Yeah, I did hear your theories.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's a lot to go off of. I think you're right in the way of like I don't think these are going to be the actors we see generally. I don't think we're going to see these actors' faces. You know, I think they're just mocap. But my theory is because it's not facial capture, everything's more up in the air. But I think more so this is leading to possibly 4 main characters in the game. You might have a duo that you play alongside of, but then there's like 2 other friends that you are in on the mystery with. But that doesn't generally mean what their gender might be because they can still replicate like motions of a boy. Like all you have to do is like walk around with your shoulders all broad, and there you go. You're a basic white man in this world. But yeah, no, it's just like I think there's going to be 4 main characters. I don't necessarily think that this is going to be meaning that like these are the actors that we're going to be seeing in the game, unfortunately, or even voice actors. So we don't know.
So I make that with it because I remember with like Danielle Vivatis when she was working on Before the Storm, and like even some of the other actors and like terms of mocap that have just done mocap generally have like been able to like share images and stuff when they're working on set. But it's when it's like voice actors, they are fully under NDA. They don't talk about anything really up until like releases because their NDAs are really strict. Like even these guys, even these people that are working on mocap, like they can share things, but obviously it's like when someone's like, "Well, what are you doing?" It's like, well, obviously you'll find out. But it's like it's very. I imagine like they can't post photos unless it's kind of like being verified
unless
from
there's
the studio
consent
first.
from the studio. Yeah,
because like if you posted something and then it's like me, like I'm like, oh, look at that image in the background. There's some like little detail given away. It's like actually, hang on a minute, you're gonna give something away. So. And by the way, they might actually just take these actors into the actual VO booth as well. They might be like their perfect fit for it. It might be a kind of a case of they are the perfect fit for mocap. They're also the perfect fit for VO, but potentially not. Some of these actors might just be specialized in, like Olivia's profile said it with like what she does as well. Like she works in different areas of like directing, producing. I think it was directing, producing, writing. I said on her profile, it's like for her, she might not necessarily be a VO actor. So it's like there's no kind of guarantee that she'll voice her character. Maybe she does. As I said, it's kind of like a coin toss at this point. But I think like with those characters though, there's a lot more context with what's given there. I think that there's these 4 characters are obviously going to take precedent, whoever they are. Even they might be playing more than one character as well. That's the other thing as well, because mocap gives you that liberty of doing what you need to do. Because one of the things I noticed during the conversations we had with Erica Mori, and generally with like Deck 9 going down the performance route. Performance capture is quite heavily different from mocap because like, do you remember what Erica said about the Expanse? Like her build had to be in a certain way. And same with like Alex Jen, her build, her height, her everything needs to be in like a certain way because you're performance capturing for certain someone. So you can't obviously have Erica Mori can't be playing Alex Chen, Riley, and this character. She has to be certain characters. And it's a certain kind of like, that's why some of the actors don't ever get called back by a studio to do mocap. It's not something personal. It's just the fact that you don't fit the kind of thing, the build for it. But with mocap's different because you're just doing motion capture animations. So I think the stylistic way that you can see this game will be very similar to the way that they're going to build the first Life is Strange 2. I think it's going to have the same aesthetic, very similar. It's going to also be like, it's going to be that same kind of vein of like Oxenfree, Life is Strange 2 kind of like vibe that we get from games. It's going to be very, I wonder if they almost go very Sundance film style with like they did with the first Life is Strange, where it feels very AAA indie style, or if it's just a kind of like a bit more of an elevation of what Life is Strange 2 was. My only concern I have, and more so with like Luke, Michel, and the other Don't Nod devs, is like Life is Strange 1, I've always said this was heavily criticized for voice lip syncing. It was like I remember covering this at the industry, I reviewed it, I criticized lip syncing in that game among many other reviewers. Like it was literally like a unanimous thing that was said. It is quite evident they tried as well. I could see in the subsequent episodes they tried to fix that. And I think with Life is Strange 2, Life is Strange 2 was a little bit better. But I think like when we have like the kind of like the hindsight and liberty of Life is Strange remaster collection, whatever you think of it, the lip syncing is really beautiful. Like just to see it, it's like, because like how far we've come with like video games and like the way that things are presented, especially story driven, heavily narrative driven games, like lip syncing really does affect the way that performances kind of really come out.
Yes.
I do hope that this is not an issue that they can easily fix with this game. I hope that because they're going down this route, and obviously it's something that they've done before, it's something comfortable for them. I just hope that it doesn't start. I hope it just doesn't overshadow the narrative of when the game comes out and starts getting reviewed. It's like lip syncing is an issue again or something like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say they fixed it, like not fixed it, but Life is Strange 2 was a good example where the lip syncing wasn't a big issue in that game, you know? So I think they've learned their lesson. They're veterans in the game industry, so you can't really like go off of a person's first project. Well, I know it wasn't their first project. We're not talking about Remember Me, but their first like narrative sort of game. Just because their first one was bad or like bad in one area doesn't mean that they're going to be bad forever in it. Like that's going on like a musician. It's like, well, their first album was trash. It's like, okay, they've made 7 since, you know, like you can't just like go off of the first thing, you know? So no, I think it'll be just fine.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a concern. I know it's been like been 8 years since the first Life is Strange came out,
exactly,
if not longer in development. But it's just it was a concern, and it was something that really did affect Life is Strange's perception in like both the critics' eyes and also fans' eyes. It was an issue in the first game, but I would assume that they're much better equipped in this position. I don't even know how the motion capture is going. It could be facial capture as well. They could be doing dots and they've just taken it off because they're all outside in the studio. Like it could be that, but yeah, I'm excited though nonetheless. I think the images gave me a lot more to kind of chew on a little bit. I think there's a lot more to kind of be said there, and I think those 4 actors as well will be on set one day as well. Obviously they're on the same day of the set. It's like you probably see these 4.
Yeah, it's just cool that like all the Power Rangers are going to be in the game.
All the Power Rangers. No, but it is interesting. I think like just if you take like little snippets from there, I think you can kind of see a lot more of this project come together. But have you got anything else to add?
No, other than it better be based in Philly.
Actually, I got one more thing to ask you.
Okay.
Do you think this game will have a trans character or a non-binary character, like I said?
I think more non-binary than trans, just because I'm only saying in this way because again, it's on the business side. Don't Nod is still owned by Square Enix or
no,
it's Tencent that has a stake. Is Tencent owning Don't Nod or Tencent owns Square Enix, who owns?
No. Square Enix is its own thing. Square Enix has its own private property, and it's and its only affiliation with Don't Nod is through Life is Strange, but they're only through IP rights, and it owns the IP for Life is Strange. Tencent owns a major stake in Don't Nod, much to my dismay, as I've said before. But it does own a major stake. I believe it's almost, what was it? Was it like, I think it's anywhere between 20% to 30%. I think it might even be 30% or something. So it owns a major stake in it. It only owns it as a stake as a stakeholder, though, remember. So it doesn't affect what business decisions Don't Nod can make. So this is the thing, like, if you're a stakeholder in something, so for example, I own a stake in Take-Two Interactive, and I voted, for example, at their last like earnings thing, like I voted if I wanted to keep the CEO of the company. But it's like, I can't say, I don't like this in GTA, get it out of the game. It's like, well, no, you're a stakeholder. You make profits and you have gains off of what we do.
That's the thing. It's like they'll make profits, meaning that like, okay, so in Life is Strange, True Colors, they got in trouble with the Tibetan flag in it. And an example of another Don't Nod game, Tell Me Why, which we'll talk about later. The trans character was there because they were funded by Xbox, making sure that they still get their profits in. So it's just kind of like in a way of like, I want to say yes, but because the video game industry is so, I'll say it, controlled. You know, a lot of innovation has been stupid, let's say. That I don't think that there will be a trans character in this game, more of on the business side of video games rather than the creative side of video games. Non-binary is a possibility, but I don't think, because this is going to be on all platforms, we don't know. It could be not, it could be just Xbox again. But for the time being, I don't think so on the side of the business.
I think there will be. I think there'll either be a trans character or a non-binary character. I can't tell
that
you
will
any
make history though. Like,
yeah, I can't. I don't think I've ever seen a non-binary character in a video game in the last. Unless I'm completely I don't play a lot of new video games anyway. Maybe
okay, so also there's a controversy in Starfield amongst right-wing conservatives. Have you seen this?
Controversy. Let's put in quotation mark, please, Adam.
Because you can choose what gender you want to be identified as in Starfield, and all the right-wing boot-wearing conservatives are just like losing their snaps.
What you're saying is a good point, because actually there are customizable features in games where you can be a non-binary character, I believe. Yeah.
In Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, you could be non-binary.
Yeah, so that's actually true what you're saying. But character, I mean, out and out, right? That's been like established from the beginning as non-binary.
Well, that's what I mean, though. It's just kind of like, excuse me. But yeah,
am I boring you?
No, I just went to bed late and it's early in the morning now. So, no, I'm more of saying it's like, I think businesses get worried because of this whole Starfield controversy. Blah.
And I agree with what you're doing. So I'm playing both devil's advocate, but I also playing another one. But do you not think that they would be fine with it because Don't Nod publishing it itself? So it has no affinity with publishing ties with anyone.
Don't Nod.
And then on top of that as well, like, you played Life is Strange 2, and like, you remember the reaction towards that game. We're not talking about on the culture war trans kind of like position of what happens with that, but it was like, I remember like the conservative like part throwing their toys at the pram, and I remember people saying it's too like left wing leaning, and people like, why is it about Trump, and why is it about this, and why is it doing this, and why is it that?
Yeah.
Just because I was gauging you in the sense of like, will there be a trans character or a non-binary character in the game? Because I think that they wouldn't just bring in a non-binary actor for the sake of being like, without wanting to specially focus on bringing maybe a non-binary character or a trans character in the game, because Don't Nod did that in the past with Tell Me Why, where they brought in Glad, where they were working with them on that. They were brought in they brought in a trans actor for a trans character. I feel like there's something a little bit more kind of like weighted from what I'm seeing. I could be very much wrong, and Luke could pop in the comments being like, you two are just so wrong.
I just think that I'm not saying that Luke and Michel don't have the balls to like go ahead and make history in video games. What I'm saying is that there's also people breathing down their neck. You know, like there's
people.
What's that?
Who are the people?
I don't want to say. I want to be friends with Don't Nod.
But but the thing is, though, for me, it's like, even for example, Tencent owning a stake in Don't Nod, they can't have any decisions on business.
Mm-hmm.
So if for example, Don't Nod wanted to make a game with like 4 trans characters in the main game, and even if like Tencent is owned by Chinese is a Chinese owned company, they can't have any decision on that. They would have to just sit there and be like, well, and Don't Nod be like, well, you're a stakeholder in this company. You can't say much else beyond that. It's like, we're making the game. You basically own stake in the company because you expect us to be profitable. You expect to have like a revenue stream from us. You expect this, and that. So it's kind of like they kind of like you're. I think from what I can tell, I think maybe you're misinterpreting the influence from outside sources, because I imagine if Don't Nod and we're talking about Michel and Luke specifically, went to Oscar Gilbert and said, "This is the game," and it's got a trans character. He's like, "Okay, cool." And he'll sign off.
I mean, we'll see, but like my thinking is that I don't think so, just because I don't think the world is ready yet. Like they weren't ready for Tell Me Why. I still remember that. Like they weren't. Were still, there was still a lot of controversy around Tell Me Why. And the world is like even more ill prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to say that like there's a non-binary character, I think is a little bit more palatable with these. I was gonna say something super mean about people, but um, these Neanderthals out there. But you know, um, that's the thing. I just think that the people who lack wrinkles in their brain won't be ready for a fully trans character in like an all platform game, because tell me why it was such a small game on one platform. But once they grow some wrinkles, it'll be fine.
Right, fair enough. I'm gonna put myself out on a limit. I will say there will be a trans character or a non-binary character in this game.
I'm leaning towards more non-binary than trans. Unfortunately,
I think we'll see that. I think
we'll see. You know who is welcoming of all people? Philadelphia. That's
Philadelphia.
I tell people all the time that, like, isn't that the city of brotherly love, but you hate people? I'm like, yeah, if you're in the city, brothers, yeah, we love other Philadelphians. If you're coming from New Jersey, no, you're not a brother. It's like, we hate you. It's like,
okay. I feel like we've dedicated ample time to this topic, and I imagine we'll be revisiting a lot as well. And obviously, our excitement is through the roof for this game, so stay tuned. We'll keep covering it. Adam, next piece of news.
Yes.
Okay, so we're sticking with Don't Nod, and we're now going to Jusant. And it is in the Eurogamer, which is Jusant, home of one of the best jumps in video games, gets October release date. So it's Victoria Kennedy. This happened.
Can I just
on the day? Go on.
The subtext of this title, I very much appreciate. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh God,
I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, that's when you have a lot of fun in journalism, where you can make punned titles. One of my favorite ones was like when it was like a Lego game that was being revealed. But Lego Jurassic Park, when I was working at Hardcore Gamer, it was like T-Rex drops its jaw, it falls off because it's like doing the Lego animation. Yeah. And in the title I put Lego Jurassic Park drops jaw dropping trailer. And I had the T-Rex's image dropping. I was like, yeah. So I completely understand what you feel about that. You get, by the way, if anyone's watching, these are the little wins you get in journalism from doing stuff like this. This is where you get a lot of joy out of your things, where you can make a little pun. So just to put that in context. Yeah. This news came out, I think, like 2 hours after we recorded our last episode, because this was happening at Gamescom. But I will read the story. So Jusant, the upcoming climbing game that promises quote unquote meditative vibes, end quote, for all those who take on the challenge, will release on the 31st of October. When Halloween comes around, we were able to get to grips with Don't Nod's immeasurably tall tower across Steam, Xbox Series X and S, and PlayStation 5. It'll also be releasing day one on Games Pass. Yeah, of course that's going to happen. Little nod there. The developer shared a new gameplay trailer to accompany this news, which highlights some of the different ways players will be able to approach their great ascent. It also gives a little look at some of the biomes we can expect to traverse on release, which are home to some quote-unquote unique flora and fauna, end quote. You can have a watch below. So there's some previous stuff that we're going to ignore that. So yes, Jusant has a release date. Timing-wise, this came literally after we had recorded the last episode. We didn't get time to put it in the segment, but we decided to put it in this one. Adam, Jusant is coming this October. I bet you must be very happy as an Xbox Games Pass owner.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'm not going to be playing this day one. I'm glad it's going to be on Game Pass day one, but me and my wife love Halloween. We love spooky season. So no, it's like, because this is not a spooky game. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be playing this day one. However, yeah, it's really cool that we're getting a release date. Now, even if I'm not playing it day one, like the next day is November, so that's perfect for like a good chill time. Oh man, October 31st is a Tuesday, of course. Like, it's a game release. It's always on Tuesdays. But still, though, like it is cool that like it is coming out sooner than we think. Because I was suspecting that we weren't going to get this till like December, maybe even like delayed into early 2024. But we got it. It's coming to Game Pass, so that cool.
Yeah. Well, by the way, as well, I like Halloween being as metric for measuring if you should really be friends with someone, because I love celebrating Halloween. It's like the only day
Yeah.
where I'll actually celebrate things. I hate every other holiday except for Halloween.
Mhm.
So it's like I completely understand. I usually used to dedicate that to my horror day with like all the other films and TV shows I watch.
Oh yeah, we do the entire month of spooky movies.
Yeah. So I haven't played Jusant yet. I didn't play the demo on Steam. I don't know if my Mac would even try and run it. It's a bit of a shame that I wish I would have released it on PlayStation, Xbox as demos where you could actually play it. And I imagine that's hopefully they release it on Switch further down the line as well. That'll be a good one for them as well. It definitely should fit on that.
Yeah.
I'm 50-50 about whether I'll pick it up, because it's like I wish I had Games Pass, and it's like that's unfortunate reality where I don't. I think Games Pass is a good idea. As much as people dispute, I think it's much better. If PlayStation offered a good service on that level, I would probably buy it. At the same time, I'm
offered
also
a good service and didn't raise the prices astronomically.
Yeah, don't worry, because I got that email and I'm canceling next year because I'm not buying PS
Yeah,
Plus. It's
that's
like,
so
I'm sorry.
stupid.
I don't play online games anyway. Most of the games I download from PS Plus, I just leave in my library because I don't play them. And then on top of that, it's like if you're diminishing the quality as you do every single month, PS Plus ain't worth the money. So
yeah,
I won't be doing that. So like Jusant's going to be a 50-50 on me, depending on how much money I have and what happens, because I know Spider-Man comes out at the beginning of October, so a lot of my time will be preoccupied
October
on
20th.
that.
It comes out.
Yeah, that's going to preoccupy a lot of my time. It's just a shame they didn't release it. I hope in the lead up to this, at least, that they release a demo on the console versions. I know that one of our listeners, and who has also been on the show, Dream Prism, has said that the demo had come back on Steam, and I don't know if that was limited time from the top of my head, but it is back there if people wanted to download it. But no, excited to see Jusant and see more of it as well. I don't have much else to add except the fact that the release date's out. So, Adam, unless you've got anything else to add for this topic segment, we can go straight into our next one.
Yeah, no, I just wish it, like you said, I wish it was coming to Switch, because this seems like a perfect, like, cozy Switch game. But yeah, no, I'm excited to play it. It's just I won't be playing it day one. It's that's it. Like I'm gonna be watching the spooks. So
watching the spooks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Like I honestly am. So we will see. But yeah, it's coming out pretty soon. It's coming out less than 2 months from now. So pretty good.
Yeah, very good. And I will keep an eye on it as well, nonetheless, and we'll be following Jusant up to release and beyond, so do stay tuned for that. But it wasn't a huge segment. Either way, the next segment as well, I don't know how long this will be, but I thought I'd give a little update because we talked about it in our last episode, and it's from Studio Tolima, and it was about Koira, which we talked about their unannounced game, which was revealed. And they replied to us on Twitter, which is this is where the news comes from, straight from Twitter. So Studio Tolima responded saying, "Great podcast. Thank you, by the way. I really appreciate that." And they put, "The announcement of the game was this early because of two main reasons. We want to show how we are making the game on social media. And although we are published by Don't Nod, we are still a small studio. So we wanted to build out some awareness of the game." Because this game, it was targeted, if I believe right, 2025?
2025. We don't even know when in 2025. It could be November 2025. So it just said 2025, I can't really argue with this statement because I'm not a developer per se, you know? So I can't really say that, like, while it's still a little early to be telling people about this game, because I don't know. But however, it's just like, man, like it's still like, I know what they're saying. It's just like, we wanted to show how we're making the game on social media. Cool. Although we are published by Don't Nod, we are still a small studio, so we want to build awareness for the game. I get that, but we don't, like, is it January 2025? Because a year is just like, wow, that's a long time to be telling people about this game. But however, like, I understand, like, being a small studio, people are forgetting it, and 2024 might be a haymaker for good games. We don't know. Like, just recently, like, just this year, I mean, we got Tears of the Kingdom, we got Starfield, we have Baldur's Gate 3, we have Spider-Man 2, we have Jusant. So another game of the year contender, probably. But, like, that's just this year. So who knows what 2024 is going to bring? So they have to, like, keep telling people, like, we're going to be here. Yeah. We're going to be here. Don't forget about us. We got a puppy. Come on now. Yeah. So I do feel for them there. But yeah, so it is, we don't know.
Yeah. What you're saying that boils down properly, though, because it's like, even with like, for example, Don't Nod Montreal, do you like the last piece of news that someone's covered on that studio, for example? On Google News, if you look at it, the last piece of news that's been covered was the teaser image. That was back in the early part of this year. So it's like, for example, like if it's not for us, for example, if it's not example for people like us or other like small outlets, you won't get the same level of mass coverage. So even with like Tolima and Koira, their devs will get sent out every possible location and they'll have to do interviews.
What you're saying though, Adnan, is that like Don't Nod Montreal, when the game comes out, we should be getting care packages like all the social media people when a new game comes out. Like getting a little.
No, I'm joking.
We should be. So what you're saying is that we are very important to the game's
no, we are
promotion.
Not. I'm just an admirer, if anything. No, I don't see anything like that. But it's like, no, I get what you mean though. It's like but like where it's like, when we get like replies from like in terms of like from like Luke and Michel, it's because you give exposure no matter how big and small your audience is. And that's like the thing with it. And same with like this as well with like Tolima's game. Like their devs will get sent out to pretty much every convention. They'll be like shipped in front of like interviews and publications every opportunity, because Tolima isn't going to be on a high priority list of Eurogamer, IGN, or any of these other outlets, because they're going to be trying to get the ones that drive loads of clicks. And that's not in any kind of way passive of reflective of the game that Koira is. It's just basically what people are actually driven towards in terms of like clicking streams, in terms of like what kind of interests them. So with Koira, for them to do 2 years of building, it's going to be a long process of that, because as I said as well, it's like the visual style of Koira made it look like it was much further ahead in development. But it's like, this is obviously quite far out still. And then in general as well, for them, they need to build their own presence on social media because they're promoting it. And then also as well, it's going to be down to the fact that with Tolima in the future, they will want to make their own games with Don't Nod, or maybe not with Don't Nod. They're still an independent developer. It's not like Don't Nod's acquired them. They're still an independent developer being published by with a third-party publisher at the helm of it. So for them, it's kind of good for them to keep building this kind of thing, because there's no guarantee their next game will be released with Don't Nod. They might do it, they might not do it. So it's a strategic plan in place, and it's good marketing as well. And I imagine that Don't Nod will do this with other stuff as well, because it's like you can see the heavy push they're doing with Jusant for marketing, that they'll probably do with Montreal's game, like Luke and Michel and other developers in Montreal will be pushed out in every single avenue to every single outlet with every single like podcast and whatever else, because they'll want to get on that, and they'll probably do it themselves as well because they'll need to promote the game in itself. But yeah, I thought we'd share that update because we will keep an eye on Tolima's game as well. Is there anything else you got to add?
Yeah, they're probably the reason why they're like doing all this, because they are kind of sprouts in the games industry. Seeing as they're from Brussels.
Oh come on! That took me too long to get as well. I think we should move on as well.
Yeah,
I feel like we should move on from that. Oh god. So the next two pieces are very small pieces of news, and I think that I don't know how long the conversation will go, because as I said, we've got quite a lot left on here. We've got a little mini topic and then a main topic as well. But I just kind of wanted to bring these up as well, which was completely forgot about this. I can't believe it as well leading up to it. On the 31st of August, Life is Strange Twitter account tweeted, 6 years ago today, Life is Strange Before the Storm Episode 1 Awake was released. No longer alone, Chloe Price and Rachel Amber must confront each other's demons and together find a way to overcome them. What is your favorite memory of this episode of the game? So 6 years have passed since Life is Strange Before the Storm came out. This is such a... Mate, this is so weird, man. I remember like I had just come back to the gaming industry at this point. So I just finished my... in this summer, I finished my MA in journalism, and I'd returned to like writing for video games. And I didn't cover Before the Storm in reviews because someone else was reviewing it for the site, but I started interviewing people. So I think it was like maybe not long after this, 6 years ago. Oh.
What's up?
Oh, I thought it was you. I thought you texted me. I thought we'd lost connection or something. No, back on the point. It was like 6 years ago. 6 years ago, 2 months from now, I first interviewed a 19-year-old, 18-year-old Kylie Brown. That's how like crazy this is. This was the time I interviewed like Katie as well. The first time I ever had any interactions or meetings with Katie. When I first spoke to Haley Hayes, it was quite a crazy time. This, and that this was quite the game to have an experience with. And I know that you fondly like Before Storm as well, as much as I do.
I do, and I'm just trying to figure out the exact date. So August 31st. Oh, it came out on my wife's birthday. 6 years ago. So what would that make it? It's 2017. Yeah. So this came out right before I got my dog. Like,
Damn.
like a couple months before I got my dog. So it's kind of great. I was like trying to line it up, but yeah, no, it is. I am very fond with Before the Storm. I have the soundtrack on vinyl. This is probably. I really want to say it's my favorite Life is Strange game, but I mean, I think it still holds true. I think it is still my favorite Life is Strange game because of the dynamic between Chloe and Rachel. I like that setting. I very much enjoyed this game. It's weird to think about. It is very much tied with me with Life is Strange and Life is Strange Before the Storm. I love these two games. But I remember when this game was coming out, the promotions behind it, like I was just coming up with theories and talking with Liz about it. I was just like, how is this going to be a Life is Strange game without, superpowers? But yeah, 6 years ago, it makes me think of like, man, when games were good. When games were
good. No, it is crazy to think about because I got introduced to Daughter through this game, and I've like not stopped listening to Daughter since because that soundtrack is so immense. I got to meet all those wonderful actors, and then I even have them on the podcast and continue things on. It was another game that really continued the series on and has continued to have life on here as well as this channel. I got to speak to Webb, who co-directed the game, and that was great as well. It was an opportunity to have a chat on his Twitch channel. You got to love Webb as well. And yeah, generally speaking, it had my favorite character in there, Rachel Amber, who I think like for me personally, they perfected, and they really got like with this spot on voice acting and the actor that they casted for that, and then just generally speaking, the way that they presented her as well. I was a huge fan of that, and I think like it has its issues, but then at the same time, universally, I had this with some of the friends I know who played Life is Strange, especially Before Storm. Everyone kind of felt universally the same way about like Farewell, for example. That was like, I think that's so in hindsight as well. Now it's such a fitting tribute that Ashley Birch and Hannah Tell had with Max and Chloe just before the their time with the franchise, because it's like we don't know if they'll ever come back. We don't know if they'll ever do anything on those lines. But it was like such a nice nail in the coffin for a lot of things. And this was in the midst of like this game had like its issues and like whether you liked it or not for different things. But then it had other issues as well because the SAG strikes had happened at this time. So SAG was on strike and like so many actors did not get to portray their characters again. And it's like, you lose out on an opportunity with so many characters there and so many actors who had originally taken on X role and Y role, but then also as well as other actors who had the opportunity to voice characters that like took off their career or started their career, gave them a breakthrough opportunity in like a major role. So there's so many things to talk about with Before Storm. And it's great to like kind of celebrate. I love when it's getting to like each year milestone. It'll be quite interesting to see how things go from 10 years from now. And generally speaking, and obviously it's still had its new opportunity with the remastered collection, no matter how many issues with the remastered collection that are. Like lip syncing was adjusted in that, and it kind of gave a new kind of perspective on the game, gave it a nice little bit of a lifting in different ways. So yeah, I thought I'd flag that up. Obviously I know we're past August now, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Adam, anything else?
No, I got my dog later that day, or later that year. Yeah.
Yes, he got his dog later that day. And moving on, and this will be our final news piece, and I think it'll be another small one, just the same as the Before Storm one, which was 3 years ago, Tyler and Allison were reunited after 10 long years, quote unquote. High's a good place to start, end quote. That is Tell Me Why turned 3 years old as of last month.
Yes.
Quite the game this. We had spoken about it on Games and Groceries, I believe, back in the day on your old channel, and this was like, by the way, for context,
right
as well, because I mentioned this to Adam as well for context, because you'll get StrangeCast next week on the Wednesday. 2 days after this episode drops was the first time that I had slid into Adam and his wife Liz's DMs saying, "Hey, do you want to do a collaboration or something?" Because Adam had his show, and I appeared on Adam's show next month, so it's kind of this month actually. So it's kind of like 50 episodes later doing this podcast, and then having had links to Tell Me Why, and then through Life is Strange, I felt it's crazy.
That was right after you texted me right after I'd already like I had a huge Tell Me Why project. excuse me, I was reviewing each episode as they dropped with 3 different guests. It was Andrew Orsi, my Ketty, Katie Benz did the final like review. Oh no, who was the third one?
Was it
And
Dan?
he previously did Titan Books. Oh no. Why can't I remember the name? I feel so bad. I feel horrible. But yeah, no, like there was this huge project I was doing, and then you slid in my DMs, and I remember thinking, it's like, I remember your show just like popping off, and I was just like, who is this guy? And then you pop in my DMs, and I'm so busy at the time. And I was like, yeah, I mean, we can do something later on, but yeah, I was like tired and confused all at the same time.
I still feel like you're tired and confused with me as well.
I'm always tired and confused. Nothing has changed. But yeah, it is cool though. Like going back to Tell Me Why though is yeah, it was a big time in my life that I've been wanting to replay this game for a while now actually.
I wish I could. It's unfortunately an Xbox exclusive.
Oh
and,
yeah,
I sold my Xbox long after that because I was like, nah, I'm done here.
yeah.
It's
okay. So,
oh, go on. You guessed.
Chris Thompson. I knew the name. Yeah. So chapter 1 was with Andrew Orsi, and then chapter 2 was with Chris Thompson, and then chapter 3 was with Mike Ketty. And then finally the discussion with Katie Benz on the whole final thoughts on Tell Me Why. So, but yeah, that was a big project. Like I had like a lot going for it because we were playing it that day, and then the next day we were reviewing it. So, and it was like 2 or 3 hours long each episode. But yeah, it was a good game. I remember it. I just haven't replayed it in a while. So
it was quite the game, and in hindsight as well, it's quite interesting because it was like that string of like Don't Nod games that started coming out after Life is Strange. So you had like Vampire, then you had like this as well. Tell Me Why. You had Twin Mirror. So it's kind of like it was the early foundation of what we currently have right now. Would you like the new set of titles that are coming out? Like there's kind of like this big push of self rebranding, self publishing. So it was like, but this was like a bit of a different project, and it was quite the eye catching one. And it kind of links with the earlier topic we talked about with Montreal. We were talking about like, you know, whether there's a trans character, non-binary character in the game, because it's like this did have a fully fledged trans character in one of the leading roles, and it was like I feel like Glad was heavily associated with Don't Nod for this project. Microsoft published the game, so it's like, you know, there was a lot of backlash because as we already know, the world isn't like, you know, very welcoming for a lot of people. So it's like, but it gave a platform for Don't Nod to tell this story and to really portray it. And I think with the way that their setting was, like, a lot of people immediately like, oh, it's like a Life is Strange spiritual successor. It has its own aesthetic. It has a very similar aesthetic, and it was quite the interesting game. Like when I played it, and I remember off the top of my head, I thought it was quite homey. It's like the story is built around these two characters. You have to basically really relate to them in some kind of way, shape, or form, or really kind of get invested in their story together. And there was quite a little bit of an early mystique with it as well, like, you know, early on with the like what's going on there. So it's like for me, I was kind of like really hooked on it for like 3 episodes, and the way that they released it formatting wise, the performances were great. And like I think like it could have, I think it lost a little bit of steam towards the end. I think that's my kind of like assessment on it more. It's like the story kind of like the mystique and the payoff wasn't necessarily as big as I wanted it to be, but like it did keep this like almost like Life is Strange 1 vibe, where it's like, who, you know, Rachel Amber's dead and like what's happened to her, and like she's missing, or, you know, there's kind of like this mystique, like what's happened there. It had that kind of same aesthetic build with it, with like Tell Me Why. It's like this missing kind of like this kind of mystique of like what's happened in their past. Why do they feel this way? Like, you know, we need to uncover this mystery, but then at the same time, it's like kind of a self exploration of this character who's come back with their sibling. You know, one is a trans person, one is you know, one person is just his sister. So it's like, you know, you explore so much with them. And I really enjoyed it from that perspective, where it was like a really fun experience, and it looked beautiful as well. Aesthetically, it looked very gorgeous.
Oh, it was such a good looking game because it was based in Alaska, if I remember.
Yes.
Yeah, it was based in Alaska, which I've been to. I've been to Juneau, Alaska, and it's a gorgeous place. But yeah, the setting was absolutely gorgeous. I thought the mystery was pretty good. Whether it ended in a climactic way or not, like that's up for debate. But I thought the story was good. I thought the characters were great. I thought the representation was pretty good. I can't speak from experience, but I thought it was pretty good as a cis white male. So don't take my opinion about representation with a grain of salt. But yeah, I absolutely love this game. I want to go back to it, but there's a lot of games I want to go back to lately that I'm just like, I don't have the time right now. And it's my own fault why I don't have the time, but you know.
I really, just for context, I really wanted to cover this game a lot when I was playing it, because I Player One versus the World has started to come out about this time as well. So I can't remember. I completely forgot his name now.
Oh,
I completely forgot.
What's that? Which one? What?
Tell Me Why's composer.
Oh, shoot! Yeah,
Ryan something. What's his name?
Tell Me Why's composer.
Yeah, he's part of Sun Lux. I've spoken to him. I can't remember his name.
Oh, you know who the composer of Tell Me Why is? No, it was Backstreet Boys.
Come on. Stop it.
Stop what? I don't know.
It's those gay jokes. No, so it's Ryan Lott, who's the composer of Tell Me Why. Sun Lux is the band that he's in. I remember interviewing him for this channel. It was very early on. It was like one of the videos I did. And it's quite nice because I wanted to do a lot of Tell Me Why coverage, but I will give you an open reference here. Dealing with Microsoft's PR is not very good. I will say that to you now if you're a listener. Because I tried to get an interview with August Aiden Black. August Aiden Black was very keen on coming on and having a chat. And Microsoft just scuppered that to hell and back. It was so difficult. And then I even reached out to one of the other actors. Do you know one of the actors who was like motion capture for Tyler?
Oh my god, it's impossible.
And again, and it's like, oh, they were like, yeah, it sounds like a really good idea. And then it's like, hang on a minute, they linked the same person from Microsoft in the PR email. It was like, great. And it just died there. The conversation just immediately died. I was like, why are you not giving? I'm literally giving you free publicity. And at that point, I gave up on Tell Me Why. I've just trying to do interviews. I was like, no, it's just not going to happen at this point. Which is a crying shame because I really wanted these people on here from Tell Me Why.
Yeah,
come on the channel and have a chat.
Thing and it just didn't happen.
Honestly, if you are listening here, PR is the most painful thing to deal with. This is why it causes so many frustrations on this channel because it is so difficult. And I say that this is why it makes me so furious when I work as an independent content creator and an independent kind of person anyway. PR is awful, and furious to deal with. There's a very few instances where I've had very good PR. They are just they make things more difficult when you could basically rein in a lot of free publicity, free and easy publicity. And for us as well, it's for us to share content with other people. But yeah, it's just something I wanted to vent with because it was so infuriating about my experience with Tell Me Why. I really wanted to give this game so much more coverage and talk about things, but they just made it so much more painfully difficult. And this is why I don't really associate my with big publishers. I'm hoping that this is why, for example, when this new Don't Nod Montreal game comes out, maybe these people will come on here because it'll just be Don't Nod. Maybe. Or maybe they're like, we don't like any of you. And I'm like, that is just a big twist in the tail.
There's a lot of people who don't like me, so it will make sense.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well with the personality that I have. But yeah, Tell Me Why though. Great. I think we'll hopefully, I think we should revisit this in a proper episode as well, like a bit more of a meatier discussion.
Are you actually going to play it this time? Or are you going to force me to play a game? You're like, oh, well, just to let you know, I haven't played it yet. So thanks for playing the game, Adam.
Yeah, but the difference is, though, with me, I've stood very firmly where I believe on Life is Strange 2, and I will revisit that game at some point. The difference is why I made you play it was because you're a hater. You're very much a hater, and I want you to apologize to Luke and Michel, and you did apologize to Luke and Michel, and you said it was a really good game instead. So it's that's the only reason why you played it. So if I was slandering Tell Me Why right now, then I'd replay it because I'd apologize to the devs who made it. Unfortunately, I like Tell Me Why, so that's why that conversation is a different one. But anyway, do you have anything else to add to Tell Me Why before we go into our other meaty topic?
Alaska is cold.
Alaska is cold, and do you know what else is cold? Space.
Oh, space is very cold. I've been
Space
there.
is very cold. Yes, I have also been there as well, and we have been there in the form of the Expanse. So this is our review segment for episode 3 and episode 4, Adam.
Yes.
So we had episode 3. We had played just after the last episode come out of StrangeCast, and then episode 4 dropped this week, which obviously we're recording September the 9th. I played it on the Friday on the 8th. Adam played it on the 8th as well. So let's kick things off. Should we do the spoiler as well? Because we can
let's do spoiler.
Yeah. Very interesting episodes, to say the least. Episode 3 I preferred to episode 4. I think that was a better episode in general.
Yes.
Episode 4 had some very big pacing issues. I think you said to me off podcast as well that you think this game will age a lot better when it's out collectively. I 100% agree with you now with that as a universal opinion, because the episode 4 is pretty much an hour, the same as like episode 3, if not longer as well. It does feel like it drags a little bit. Despite being good, I feel like it does drag a little bit. So I think like
it
collectively,
took me about, I want to say, an hour and 15 minutes, maybe this episode, without trying to speed through either. So, it was about an hour 15.
Yeah, it just seems to drag because it's doing so much exposition between Kamina Drummer and what's he called? Dawes?
Anderson Dawes. Yep.
Anderson Dawes, yes. There's like a lot of exposition on that relationship, which I found quite interesting that they were doing it in episode 4. I thought maybe it would be in episode 3 they started to build onto it, if anything, because it's like, it's so late in the game at this point. I was like, maybe there's going to be something else here that goes on. But it's like a big exposition on Anderson Dawes and Kamina Drummer at that point. And then, basically, episode 3 is Maya and Kamina, and this one is episode 4 is Dawes and Kamina. So it's like this. Yeah. There's like each episode has like a focal point on like the relationships with the characters. Episode 3 is a lot more kind of like better paced and like more steady. Episode 4 is longer because like 3/4 of the episode is based on Kamina and Dawes' relationship, and the final quarter, which is magnificent and I really enjoyed, it picks up the pace and it kind of gets to the finish line very quickly. But episode 3 generally was like more steadily paced. You were going through the ship, you were looking through a ship, wherever they're vesseled on. They're basically like you exploring for a lot longer. You're basically getting to this item that you'd basically talked to Cox about for a while. You guys are scavengers. You had kind of like a big reveal at the end of the episode where, unfortunately, I lost Maya in my playthrough. I believe you did the same as well. Yep. I have had a nosy as well, by the way, in the trophies. And just to give a bigger spoiler as well, there is like a spoiler for keeping all the crew alive by the end of the game. So it's like basically we have like been losing people on the way, because it's like one of them, I've lost Cox, I sent him out of the shoe in my other playthrough. So he's like gone out of there. By the way, he should still be in your playthrough, isn't he?
He is still in my playthrough. Yeah, I did not space him.
So he's still on the Artemis with your crew who've been like hijacked because of Reyes. Yeah. So it's like he's like on the ship, he's controlling its captain. So generally speaking, episode 3 was really well paced. I really enjoyed the relationship with Maya. The acting was great. The performance was fantastic. And I had no issues with that at all. Episode 4 was much longer. And it just felt like a lot longer as well. And like, obviously, I think like later on, you basically, Kamina is on like a time, on borrowed time at this point, because her oxygen's running out. And it's like later in the episode, the more you progress, like you can't walk, because like Kamina's like fatigued. So basically at this point you have to go zero gravity, so you like start floating through space just to kind of get a bit more pacing.
Speed along, yeah.
So it's like, and in itself as well, it's basically a circle. So you start at the beginning of the episode and you get back to the end of the circle. And it's only until like the next segment, which is, as I said, that's 25% of the game, you kind of get to a different place. So it's basically you go full circle and get to that. But with that as well, because like this is why I said there's a bit of an issue, because it's like the last 25% of the episode should have been the first 75%, and the 75% with Dawes and Kamina should have been the 25% of the game, personally speaking, because like, you get onto the last 25% in episode 4, and you have this entire thing with Julie, which is very brief. And I feel like that could have easily have gone like 35, 45%, even though it serves its purpose. There's like a little interaction you have with a character who's prison celled up. That could have had a bit more time. But I will say one thing, which is obviously the introduction of 2 characters that happen in this episode, in person at least. One is called Tor, and the other character is called Adam. What's her name again?
Toussaint,
and I love her name as well. I don't know why I keep forgetting her. Toussaint, who is that? And I believe they are the pirates, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Yes.
They're the pirates, and Tor's full name is Torrance.
Torrance.
But nobody should be killed by a name Torrance.
This is where the humor really highlights really well. So like the pirates are the ones who have been decapitating people's heads throughout the entire episode, so we finally get to meet them. Obviously, like you as Kamina have effed them off a little bit in terms of like people you've like killed and done everything else with. But it's like you're now on their vessel, so you have Tor, you have Toussaint. There's a really funny exchange. I said this to Adam with like Toussaint where she makes like really crap jokes, and and like Kamina calls her out on it, and then Toussaint turns to Tor and says like, "Am I funny?" And he's like, "F no." He's like, "You're not funny at all." And it's like the humor is just so. That's what I want more of in the episode. Like it's so like. Because obviously we know the gravity of the situation that Kamina has been kidnapped. She's on this ship. Like they're trying to hunt down, the pirates are trying to hunt down the Artemis. And at the same time, like Kamina is now conflicted on her position. But it's like, you have this really kind of like great introduction of two characters. And Tor is great as well. And I love like some of the scenes that lead up with Tor. And just to give you as well a bit of context as well here, that actually Tor is played by the game director, Stephen Frost, or as we call him, Frost, because of Erica Mori. So Frost did tweet, and this was prior to like episode 4. Was it episode 4 prior to it? It might have been prior to it, or like on the day it came out, because I waited until the Friday to play it, so I didn't play it until yesterday. And then I saw the phone and I ignored it. So I was like, I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to come back. So I came back to it later. But he put episode 4 is out for early access today, folks, and wide release tomorrow. You'll all get to meet Tor, a character I played alongside Gundia Johnson, who I believe is Toussaint, and Erica Mori. Obviously, we know Erica Mori, who was doing mocap for Koira at the time. Gundia kills it as Toussaint and gives one of my favorite performances, and he's put the screenshot of Tor's response to Toussaint. And I won't be reading out the profanities because I wanted to keep this PG rating as much as possible. And Adam, obviously, I couldn't resist the opportunity because I went and spoke to Frost on Twitter. I gave him kudos for his performances because I thought it was great. And I also said it must have been fun to like bully Erica Mori on the set. And he replied saying, "Thanks. I not only pushed Mori around, but also fake punched her multiple times. I also nearly made her break character multiple times because I kept making the Judge Dredd mouth for Tor in case we decided to remove the helmet." Which, by the way, I'm a big fan of how he calls her Mori. So he's got like the Frost Mori kind of like relationship, because like he is just Frost for Erica Mori. And it looks like Erica Mori is just
what's the other name that we found out last episode?
Oh my god, it's something Ski McGee's or something?
Yeah, Skeeter
McGee.
Or Skeeter Denise. Skeeter Denise.
Skeeter Denise. That's one, yeah, sorry. Skeeter Denise is his other name from Erica Mori. So in Erica Mori's phone book, he is Skeeter Denise. By reference, he is just Frost. And in Frost's position right now, Erica Mori is just Mori, which I'm liking this like little dynamic relationship we have. It is funny that he sent the Judge Dredd picture as well. And I'm kind of like, it's quite interesting just to have a little bit of tidbit there where they were like undecided whether Tor would have the helmet or not. And I'm kind of glad that they kept the helmet, because like the delivery of his lines are even more funny because you can't see his facial expressions. So he's like very obviously like quite cold and like just dry sense of humor 101, and I love that as well. But genuinely, I love the introduction of Tor. When you get these kind of like late introduction of characters very later in the games, of like, I said it with like Karen, for example, in Life is Strange 2, and then now you have it with this one as well. Really enjoyed it. So at that point, the last 25% of episode 4 of The Expanse was great.
Yeah, no, I thought episode 4 of The Expanse, like I said, had its pacing issues. I enjoyed episode 3. But you know, this one I think was just a little bit too much of the whole Anderson Dawes and Kamina sort of lore to it, and I thought the reverb behind Anderson Dawes' vocals was a little much. Like I would have just dumbed it down a little bit on the reverb. But other than that, I thought it was good because we did find out a little bit of lore behind, like a little bit of past history between Anderson and Kamina, like Kamina saying that like, "Oh, you made me into a killer. You manipulated me. You're a hypocrite." All that. So we got a little bit more of that. Now, did you dodge all the lasers, by the way?
Yes, I got a trophy.
So did I.
Yeah. I'm very happy with that.
I dodged all the lasers, so I was proud boy. I got a little bit of a rare achievement, so that was nice. Um, but yeah, I thought, in my opinion, I think episode 4 was my least favorite overall, but I thought
Yeah,
the ending was my favorite. Like, I
yeah,
thought the ending of episode 4 was my favorite ending of all the episodes. Um, but overall, I think it was my least favorite so far. But yeah,
yeah,
I'm still a little disappointed that all these episodes are under like 45 minutes to an hour, you
yeah,
know? But that's why I think that this will age better once it's a full package and
yeah,
it's on sale for like $30, $20, something like that. Because
yeah.
then it's an easy sell to somebody, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you because like for me, episode 4 is probably the weakest in terms of like the ones I enjoy, but it's also got my favorite segment. Like that entire last 25% is like the most enjoyable, just for
Yes.
like the acting, the performances, etc. And then as you said, like with it being small packages, I'd rather they just release this now all in one go. Like, I'd rather they've just released all of it in one go with the bonus episode. We could just play it as like a 5-hour full experience or 6 hours with the DLC, whatever it is, and enjoyed it
Yeah.
more. Because now it's like I come back to it every 2 weeks after an hour experience, and I'm like, oh well, I can smash through this very quickly. But I'm like, I wish it was just a
Yeah.
bit longer, just like an hour and a half, 2 hours per episode, and had a bit more time and a bit more kind of like clarity with certain characters. Like Khan, we've not spent much time with in there as much as I'd
Yeah,
hoped for it. There was some
unfortunately.
great, and the scenes that we did, which were great, but at the same time, for example, Khan is just pretty much non-existent in this episode. It's like the only thing you have is where Toussaint asks, like, what would you do with Khan? It's like, would you want her dead or would you like want to protect her?
Yeah.
With a pilot kind of scenario. So it's like, I just wish we had a bit more time with some of the characters, and even the doctor on board. Is it Virgil? It's called Virgil.
Virgil is the doctor. Yep.
Yeah, like that arc had like a bit of mystique, and we explored it a bit more in the episode 3 and 2. But it's like again now that's kind of like just sidelined. So if I don't expect that to come back at all now on episode 5. I feel like it's just going to end there. But generally speaking, no, I enjoyed it all, and even the third episode, as I said, it's very wholesome, and it's like you get to the end, you have a decision to make. I lost Maya, unfortunately, which is annoying, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to go back and play through the Expanse at some point with all the characters alive and see what happens. Because I don't know what happens with the scenes where Maya in episode 4, for example, because like at one point her dead body comes at you and she tells you like not to feel sorry. So it's like, what are you going to get then at that point? It's like, it's going to be like just a visual of Maya in her normal human form or something, or it's going to be her. I don't know. I don't know what's going to be. So it's like, hopefully, go back and check it out at some point. Anything else?
Um, I'm hoping that episode 5 like goes out on a bang, you
Yeah.
know. But so far, what I'm thinking is that like I really wish, like we've been saying, I really wish this game came out all together, all the episodes, because waiting 2 weeks for just an hour episode is just kind of like, what's the point here? But I think once it's all in one package, I think it'll be a much more enjoyable experience because again, even like the releases of this has been such a mess that just kind of like I think it's going to age really well when it's just one package. Unfortunately,
I would agree, and I hope so. And I'm looking forward to seeing this last episode, and hopefully it goes out in a bang. And then obviously I'm hoping for the DLC, which will come out, I believe, in 2024 early. So it's out. Looking forward to see how that plays out.
yes.
This is obviously a very meaty episode, so we'll move on to our main topic. And as we spoke about last episode, we will be bringing Life is Strange back into the main topic to give you your input. But we're also taking this from a fan that was submitted in our last video and one prior to that as well, which we eventually replied to. And thank you for this. So this is a topic submitted by a YouTube user listener by the name of JD54911. And they said, another awesome episode. The march to 100 is on. I have a question that could be used in an episode. If you could add a scene to the franchise, what would it be? For me, it's in Life is Strange 1 episode 3 when you go back to Chloe's house after the Blackwell shenanigans. I always thought and felt that the developers missed out on an opportunity. I imagined how there should have been a scene before the wake up, how neat it would have been where Max and Chloe are reminiscing/chatting about whatever comes to their mind before they go to sleep. Thanks for continuing to fly the Life is Strange flag. End quote. So JD54911, thank you for the topic idea and suggestion. Adam, I feel like before we say any of our other scenes, I believe should we address JD's scene first?
Yeah,
because they make some interesting points.
That is a really good point to make. I remember reading that, but like re-hearing that comment. By the way, I love how JD pointed out like Blackwell shenanigans.
Yes,
that's a good way.
I love
that.
shenanigans as a word. It's a great word.
Yeah, I think it's not really. I think missed an opportunity is, I think is kind of harsh to say, like missed an opportunity. But it's not more of missed an opportunity more than it is just like that would have been a fun scene to watch, and then again a fun scene to play because you have dialogue choices there. You would have certain aspects of like building a relationship. So yeah, no, I definitely think it would have added more, but I don't think it was a missed opportunity. But yeah, no, I think I would have loved to see that. Yeah.
Just remind me, Blackwell shenanigans prior to that obviously is a swimming pool scene, and also them.
Yes, it will be the swimming pool scene.
Yeah, and obviously them invading the security guard as well. Yes, I can see it from both sides. So I'll say two things about this, which is like, yeah, it would have been great because you could have had more context. I think like that, depending on time and if they wanted to increase the pacing of the length of the episode or kind of like add extra exposition, you could easily have done that. Now, there are some things I'll play devil's advocate and I would argue against about it. So basically, one of the things I'll say is that you would kind of interrupt the flow of the game at that point, because when they wake up, for example, they have that like really sentimental moment where it's like selfie time and it's like they do it in the bed and stuff. Would it have the same impact if you were basically having people chatting prior to that scene happening?
No, he's like talking about probably the night before. So like before they go to sleep, they're just chatting and then they go to sleep,
Oh, before they go to sleep. Sorry, I completely misread that comment. Sorry. So like, yeah, if they would have gone back to house and sat in there and then maybe had like a late up call and they had a chat about things. Yes, okay, fair enough. I can see that. They could have talked about other things. But I would also argue that their relationship's very funny, Max and Chloe, in the first 5 episodes of Life is Strange, or all the episodes. More so because like they don't really reminisce and chat about things. Like they don't really have that same thing. Even like when Rachel Amber is brought up and the context of it, it's like because Max finds something or like something's brought up. They don't like have chatty feelings because Chloe feels quite betrayed by Max. Max feels guilty about what she's done with Chloe. So they don't intentionally dig up the past and chat and like they're not friendly. Like that's why I find like the way that this first story is told is so great, because like everyone like who like really gets into the series will be like, Max and Chloe are in love with each other. They're so unanimously in love with each other. They're like, they need to be together. Are they? Is Chloe not just more significantly interested in Rachel? Is she just not trying to project Rachel's personality onto Max?
Because he does dress her in Rachel's clothes.
I mean, like, yeah, like I had a friend who recently played it, and he was like, come on. And I was like, yeah, because it's the entire point. Like, look at the way that Chloe looks at Max when she dresses up in Rachel's outfit. It's very telling that it's not like, even Max isn't like the typical I like girls, I like boys. She never like really reflects on who she likes. It's like the choice is open to it. But there was an opportunity that you could have had that with, like, you can do the kind of talking scene when they get back from Blackwell. They're in the house and they could kind of like have a bit of like an extra expose. But then at the same time, I'd argue that's done better, for example, in Before the Storm, where it's Rachel and Chloe in bed at the after like the kind of aftermath of the dinner scene that you have with her parents, because there's more exposition there because those two characters talk to each other, they relate to each other. But with Max and Chloe, at the point where you're suggesting it, the story's not fleshed out enough at that point, because I don't think Max and Chloe become whole together until the 5th episode where the decision is ultimately made. I feel like that's when forgiveness happens. That's when peace is made. I believe that's when you basically have two characters that can basically have the conversation you're implying here that you'd want them to have, and they have the kind of like comforting moments. Because even, remember as well, during the game, every time shenanigans happen between the two of them, there's almost this reverting back to the people that they are. It's this kind of thing where Chloe's like a bit cold-shouldered with Max. Why are you talking to Kate? Why are you not giving me attention? You betrayed me. And then Max is like, I feel guilty about Chloe. I wish things would have worked out better for her. I'll stop doing the thing. But it's like, they kind of like, that's where I feel like with it. So JD's comment makes a lot of sense because there is a lot of time with it. I think it probably just would have added a lot more kind of like, okay, we can kind of use your imagination a little bit here. You can imagine that they probably just like, got back, maybe they talked, maybe they did things, but it's a difficult one for me personally, because like it's not even like they could like share a joint together, for example. Like Max is the most like uncool person to ever have like a joint or something. She's not gonna sit there with Chloe having a joint and like reminiscing about that moment with her about things. So I think personally speaking, it's a yes and a no for me. I think it could have worked. I think you could have done it, but you'd have to have the right topic and angle that they're going to talk about. But then at the same time, I think like where they just have that scene where it ends with the shenanigans and you immediately wake up and you have that wholesome kind of feeling of take the photos, Max, and you like have that thing where they're up and a new day has started. I think that probably does work out better. So interesting scene nonetheless, though. You kind of just give a lot of context to add it. And I think JD's comment and why they feel the way that they do, I agree with it as well at the same time. So it's 50-50 for me in terms of coin toss. I think like for how I see Max and Chloe's relationship, I think that scene for me personally just wouldn't work because of how distant they are. Because remember as well, when they jump in the pool, they're different. Yes. It's like so wholesome. It's like lovey, and it's like, you know, nothing has happened. The minute they're out the pool, it's like Chloe comes back to who she is. Max comes back to who she is. 10 years have divided these people. You can kind of reminisce about those kind of, because what it reminds me of, for example, the pool scene reminds me of stuff that you see in Farewell, where Max and Chloe are very innocent. They're having like a lot of fun. They're kind of like pushing each other and doing things. And it's like, that's when the world is like gone at that point, because you kind of like get rid of all your problems, get rid of all your concerns. However, as soon as you get out of the pool, everything starts flooding back. And it's like, actually, we'll kind of like, we're still trying to determine what this relationship is, whatever it is, what this friendship is. And we still need to kind of get the ratio balance done right. So that's how I feel about it personally. But Adam.
Yes.
Which scene would you add to the franchise if you had the chance?
I have a scene in mind, but I want you to go first. Just
you want me?
Yeah, I don't want to take your scene if we're thinking of the same scene.
No, I don't think we will be. I'm going to take the risk here. I don't think we'll be thinking about the same scene.
What game are you thinking of?
I'm thinking Before the Storm.
Okay, so yeah, we're not thinking of any scene. No, I'm thinking of, so it's not like a major scene. I'm going on the side of like JD, where it's more of like a side of seasoning rather than like some meat to it, you know. Now Before the Storm, of course, I would add like 2 more episodes, like in general, like I would make it a 5-episode place, but
easily.
I'm more on the side of JD, where it's like, what's like a little thing I would add to like add a little bit more context. And I'm thinking episode 2 of Life is Strange 1, where after you save Kate, going down the stairs, because we see as we're freezing time that oh no, the security guard's name, David Madsen, where David Madsen's going into the building, right? Like he's going up and he's going in, coming down with Kate, right, from the roof. You meet David Madsen and just say, Max, whoa, what are you doing here? Army stuff. And you have that kind of like little bit of a decision to make of just like, how did you get up there? You know, like, like everybody's asking you, like, do you share that you have powers? Do you not share it? And then like that changes the dynamic of you and David, maybe. Like I've traveled through time and blah blah blah, and then David's like, what are you talking about? You're obviously on drugs, blah, 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 man stuff, blah, blah, blah. But like that little in between where you're walking Kate down and you're trying to be emotionally supportive of Kate, but then David's also asking you questions in the middle of this hallway. I think that's a scene I would add a little bit more like seasoning rather than like an extra side of your dish, if that makes any sense, you know?
Interesting. Here's a question though for you.
Yes.
Would you not think it would ruin the imbalance of the relationship between David and Max up to that point, in terms of David is very much a red herring throughout that entire game? So it's kind of like leave him there and a little bit mystiquey about Kate wanting to jump, and then like all the other stuff that's happening. Do you not think like her telling David she has a power that she can really trust him, or like,
well, that's the thing. Like, I don't think the decision has to be I have a power. I think the decision could be just like hide it, or just like you just like this kind of standstill of like explaining why you were up there in the first place. And then maybe Kate can like interject and say like, well, maybe if you weren't busy taking so many pictures of students, maybe you would be up here saving us. Like putting David really down. I don't know, but like making him more of a red herring, like making him more suspicious, or making him feel like he is the enemy. Like, where were you, David? Like, why didn't you like lock the doors or something like that? I don't know. But I think that that little awkwardness scene, it doesn't have to last too long, but just like the walking down and then having like a little cutscene of everybody either hugging Kate or just questioning her. Like you just see a sea of crowd of like who's supporting Kate, who's not. Or even more of that, like what if Kate falls? Then you're going down by yourself, and then you're really facing David Madsen of just like, you were up there. Did you make her fall? Like, what is your problem? Kind of thing.
Would you not have done one of those like movies cutscenes where it's like, do you like have like the emotional music in the background? You have like slow motion and Max walking down the stairs, like a head down or a head up or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, like one of those. Like I think it would add seasoning to it rather than like another side dish.
That is an interesting proposition. I think like there's again, I see both like pros and cons. I see it with the scenes that I would add myself in these, because I think they intentionally leave, like, because obviously we obviously have hindsight as the fortune, because like they didn't really know if Kate Marsh would like really have any kind of play after that. It's only because like after that they started changing things.
And there's a lot of intention with these scene builds, like we've seen that Michel Koch was upset that there was a loading screen in between the dream and the wake up.
Oh, he's right. He's so right on that, though.
Oh, he's so right on that. But they have a lot of intention behind how these episodes and these scenes are paced. That just kind of like to say that, like, oh, like how about a stairwell scene? It's just kind of like that wasn't their intention.
That's the difficulty that starts with JD's comment, that starts with your pick, and that will start with my picks as well, because like you basically then have to think about what the extra caveats are, because you're ultimately doing something that's going to now have a hindrance on the other pacing. So for example, even with the JD stuff, then it kind of becomes out of place the next morning, because like what happens, for example, you're doing that entire scene with like Max and Chloe up at night, and then you're going to have to inject some kind of choice. So what happens if you do like a big choice mechanic where it's like you yell at her or you don't yell at her, and then next morning it's like the outcome is like they both get up and it's like, oh, selfie time in the bed. It's like, hang on a minute, it's like that doesn't set the tone of what happened last night. And the same with yours as well. It's like it could be also good for that as well, where it's like it shows like a bit more of emotional thump because of all the emotions that have happened, and then you have like this confrontation with Madison and stuff. But then even the developers might just say, why would we include that scene, because it's already, the emotions are so high, we're now taking you away from that, and we want to kind of like bring a bit of a balance down. It's like there's so many different like adding layers on it, and it's easy and such a great question to ask and have a topic about, but it's also got so many caveats with it, because it's like,
exactly,
how does this impact the story? How does it impact anything? Like, oh god, there's so much. I have two, Adam, actually.
Two?
Two.
I'll say my second one.
Do you want me to just do one first, or do you want, and then you come back to you, or do you want to do both yours?
No, this one's quick. Life is Strange True Colors. Right before Gabe gets hit by a rock, like the second before, we see angry bald man just scream, "Ah!" and then he just dives and saves Gabe. Like, got him,
Wait, but if he did that, wouldn't he push Gabe off the cliff as well?
Exactly, that would be the thing. Both Gabe and angry bald man accidentally die.
They both die, and they both have a bald man scream or Wilhelm scream on the way down. You hear that as well.
And it's a funeral for both of them.
And in the distance, when Alex wakes up from bed, you can just say, ah.
Yeah, exactly.
In the back of my mind.
That would have made my two scenes.
That would have been interesting. Those are two very interesting scenes. So my minor one, to start with, is not my main one. My minor one is going to Life is Strange 2.
Okay.
I would have liked a scene between Esteban and Daniel post episode 1. So the way that Esteban turns up for Sean, I would like to have him turned up for Daniel at some point. So maybe after, like, in episode 3, for example, when they fight and they start having a rift or something, and Esteban like intervenes and kind of gives guidance to Daniel. Or maybe later on in the episodes where he's like episode 5, where like he has to make a decision before, like, you know, where you can like take out all the cars and you can drive down, or if you sacrifice, like some kind of like position. I think it would have been interesting for a dynamic. I also see that it wouldn't make any sense as well, because it's like, hang on a minute, like Daniel's still a very young boy, and it doesn't matter how far you get into the game, he doesn't have that logic with it.
Yes.
Or otherwise, I would like to have had him appear in some manifestation for Sean one more time. It maybe would have happened after, for example, where he's reconnected with Karen to some extent, and you just see like even like Ghost Esteban nodding, like, you know, Star Wars episode 6 style, Return of the Jedi,
in the
just,
robe
like,
and everything.
With Arcadia Bay next to him in like manifestation, because it's been destroyed, and like someone else. Like that would have been nice or something like, but just maybe another scene, because I love the Esteban scenes in Life is Strange too, especially with Sean. But I think maybe at some point there could have been like one more, even maybe at like in the campsite or something, where he's like reeling Sean back in or something. But I would have found it quite interesting to see one with Esteban and Daniel. Whether that would have had any weight, or if it would have carried anything, that would have been interesting. That's the minor one for choice. And as I said, even as much as I spent time picking yours and JD's apart, there's also caveats for mine, because it's also pacing issues, where it would fit the context, if it sounds too dumb, because it could sound too dumb with Esteban as a Force ghost waving his hand at like at Sean, like, come on, like, it's not going to work with that. My main scene would be in Before the Storm, and it seems like an easy punching bag. For me, it would have to be a scene between Rachel and Frank. Like, there's no context ever given for that. It makes no, like, she doesn't even look at him at one point, even in the episode, even with the eye look of like, you know, because like their relationship so like is at the center of Life is Strange episode, Life is Strange, the first game, and the entire point is like Frank is like a broken man when he finds out about Rachel at the end of it. He then keeps telling Chloe, he's like, you know, Rachel spent all this time with me, and he's doing this and that, and it's like, but then BTS is the prequel. And they don't really tap on that at any point, even prior to it, in any way, shape, or form.
Not even like a look of interest at all.
No, not at all, because I said to you, like, they could have done a false herring scenario where it was like, hang on a minute, what you believe in the first Life is Strange isn't real. And it could have just been like, Rachel goes to Frank's place just for weed or something, and he becomes infatuated with her because she's like the girl next door. She's like what every guy, quote unquote, wants and all that stuff. And he becomes like really obsessed with her, or he becomes more attached to her through her biological mother, who he knows, and he has some kind of like deep sentimental attachment towards her. And that could have been like a false herring that she isn't the person that you think she is in the first game, that we kind of learn people call her manipulating and like toxic and all this other stuff with her. Or two, you actually go off that idea and you implement it in that BTS, and you actually give at some sign at some point in the game that Frank has some kind of interest in Rachel, and Rachel has some interest in Frank in a deep, meaningful way. Even if it was like a wink, for example, at some point.
That's why I think that Before the Storm, with the only 3-episode arc, like, I think that's where a lot of things were missed, because you're lacking those other 2 episodes, you know? Like, you could easily have that in one of the other 2 episodes, but because it's only 3 episodes, there's a lot of missed out opportunities.
Yeah, easily. Those other 2 episodes could easily have fleshed out the Nathan Prescott story arc, along with the Rachel Amber story arc, and also the Victoria Chase story arc. Because like the jump is so big from Victoria to Queen Bee by the time we get to Life is Strange 1, and you can kind of see it the way that she's treated, and also by the end of it. But she's just kind of in the montage, and it's like you don't really see her like walk around with her cronies, so you could have like led up to that point and kind of got like a bit of like her position as like kind of like the central figure at like Blackwell. But with like BTS, it's always niggled me for some reason. There's like no added context to that scene. There's like quite a few contexts. It would be like scenes I would add to Before Storm, which would kind of like allude to the fact, like, obviously there was like kind of a misinterpretation about if there's a power for Rachel Amber or something, like, you know, after the entire forest getting burnt down. But I think like the main one for me is that it's like we needed something context there. Yeah. Like, some context would have added a lot to the dimensions of it. Because as I said, like, Frank looks like a broken man when you tell him in the 5th episode in the diner. It's like, he's like broken completely by it. He's like, is he not wearing like Rachel's bracelet as well, if I remember correctly?
He is wearing Rachel's friendship bracelet, I believe, in episode 1, because like they were finding out that he's a red herring. It's like, what are you doing with Rachel's bracelet? You know, because she gave it to him. But because there's only 3 episodes, unfortunately, there's not a lot of context given,
No, there's not. So that's the only unfortunate part of the thing. But like, there are scenes like, again, but then there's obviously arguments you can make with that. Maybe it's a red herring. Maybe it's forever a red herring. Maybe it's down to interpretation, etc. But that would be the scene I would go for. I think it would make a lot more sense. It would put more weight on the series. I think it would give more exposition to Frank and make him probably a little bit more relatable, if anything. And also I think it would tie in things a lot more easier for me, if anything, because considering the position they bring Rachel's mother in, biological mother, in that game as well, and that she's like in this like drug kind of like position and everything else, and you could easily position Frank as someone who's looking after Rachel and didn't want to like make sure she went down the same avenue and she didn't have the same kind of like impact on her life, etc. So I think that there's kind of room for that to have been explored. That would have been my pick.
Yes, I agree. I agree to that.
Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up here on this topic idea. Thank you for the suggestion. As always, as well, if you are watching and listening and you're on YouTube, do drop us your picks as well. It'd be really interesting to hear if you like our picks, if you don't like our picks, and also just in general what you would add to the franchise, because I think there's quite a few. We've only scraped very few of them. It was just bog standard, simple ones. And I think like we've kind of brought this conversation down because the episode is long as it is as well. I didn't expect it to be as big as we did for conversation topics. But JD, thank you for that. I hope you enjoyed it as well. As I said, leave your topic suggestions in the comments. We'll pluck them out. We'll use them in future episodes for sure. Adam, spread the arts.
Yes.
Do you want to go first?
I will go first because I think you'll like my pick here.
Oh.
So this was recently added to Game Pass, and I played this when it originally came out in 2018, and it was a PlayStation exclusive for a while, and then it came out to PC and Switch later on, and now it's finally on Xbox.
Ooh.
So now it's on all platforms, and I absolutely love this game. The game is called Grease. GRIS, which is Spanish for gray. And so the whole game, it's a indie platformer, right? But the thing you'll like about this, it's a hand-painted game. So it's got a hand-painted aesthetic. The music is just fantastic. Like the story is told through the music because the character that you play loses her voice. Has been singing a song of peace, and I want to go off of Steam's description of the game because it's hard to describe without spoiling too much. I think it's best if you go into this game cold, but it says Grease is a hopeful young girl. So the character's name is Grease. I'm dumb. Grease is a hopeful young girl lost in her own world, dealing with the painful experience in her life. Her journey through sorrow is manifested in her dress, which grants new abilities to better navigate a fated reality. The reviews on Steam are overwhelmingly positive. It is a Devolver Digital game and is made by Nomada Studio, which they are coming out with a new game about death and dogs. Like they're a really talented studio. I believe this was their first game, if not their second. But I remember, like I said, yeah, it's a gorgeous game.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I never played it, but I've looked at the art that's on the PlayStation Store, which is this for anyone watching the video version, and it's I love art like that. It's so good.
You would love it just for the art and the music. It is. The puzzles are sometimes difficult. I will say that sometimes they can be a little bit, I'll say it bullshitty. But at the same time, gorgeous game, fantastic music, great price because I believe it's $15 on everything. I think on Switch it's $17 for some reason. But yeah, it's a cheap game. If you're on Game Pass, it's on Game Pass now, finally. So Grease is on Game Pass. But I think you should definitely check it out. It's a game worth for your go ahead.
I'm gonna check that out. Yeah, I've always heard of it. I've never played it. It's one of those games I've heard from it, never played it, but visually,
you would love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. So my pick, and I've been playing it for like the last month and coming up to this month, and this is before Spider-Man. I've been playing Yakuza 2.
Nice.
Which is great. This is Yakuza Kiwami 2, which is the remake of Yakuza 2. It was made on the Dragon. I think it's the Dragon engine it's remade on. It's the same as the Yakuza 1 remake as well that they did. They did in that same bracket of like Yakuza 0, 1, and 2. This is a direct sequel to Yakuza Kiwami 1. So far, I've just started the Yakuza series. So I've played Yakuza Kiwami 1, and then I played Yakuza 0. Yakuza 0 is a prequel to Yakuza 1. And Yakuza 0 is considered one of the best of all, best in the entire series. And Yakuza 2 I've been playing. I am like so engrossed in this game. The story is so good.
Nice.
It is in that same bracket of video games that I like. For example, my entire obsession with Hideo Kojima is based on that. This is why I love Japan. Like whenever someone says to me, it's like, you know, Japan makes like games because like they have like they don't care about women. They don't like, you know, represent them in a good way, etc. And one, it's a cultural difference anyway. And then two, they know how to write women characters. And you should see it in this game, for example, like the female cop in this game is written better than most Western studios could even try and write. And then in general sense as well, even the characters as well, like Kiryu, Majima, they're great. The villain is one of the greatest I've seen in the last 10 years, easily.
Nice.
Like obviously this is even earlier with the game, but like for a remake perspective, he is like absolutely outstanding as a villain.
Nice.
This is like, for me at the minute, because I've only played very early in the series, this is like the Empire Strikes Back moment for the series. Okay. It's like, it's the second episode, everything feels very bleak. It falls on straight from the events of the first game. I think it's like set 1 year after the events. And it's like your back is up against the wall, like as your character, like you are basically like, you feel like the rebels at this point, and you're fighting the Empire. And it's like you're rebels because like you were once great, but then at the same time you've lost all your power. And I'm trying not to spoil it because any person I've ever met, like, you need to play Yakuza. It is one of the best recommendations I've ever had.
I was about to say, what are you playing it on? Because I knew it came out, like, that's why I Googled it. It came out on PlayStation 2.
So I'm playing Yakuza on PlayStation 5 at the minute. But basically, so Yakuza 2 there that you're looking at, that is the original Yakuza 2. Okay. So the one I'm playing is called Yakuza Kiwami 2.
Oh yes, okay, gotcha. Yes.
Kiwami is the two entries that they did of Yakuza 1 and Yakuza 2. They remade them, and they used the Dragon. I think they used it. I think it's called the Dragon engine. They used it, making it called the Dragon engine. So basically, what happened with this is the story of Yakuza as well is Yakuza blew up massively in the Western market because of Yakuza 0.
Yes.
So the series has got its massive popularity. For example, with me, I knew about Yakuza for 20 years. I just never played it. It's only until like the last couple of I think like last year, my friend recommended I play it because he got really hooked into it. And then I played Kiwami 1. I was like, this game is so good. Like the entire series and concept is so good. So like, that's why it's that, because like, as well on top of that, a bit of trivia, the game is now no longer called Yakuza, the franchise. It's now called Like a Dragon. So in Japan, it's called Like a Dragon. And in Western markets, it was called Yakuza. So like the latest entry that they did was Yakuza, Like a Dragon. That was the last entry that has the Yakuza name in it. The next entries are now called Like a Dragon, XYZ ABC.
Yes.
So I'm currently quite far behind in terms of the series. I'm very much like the main protagonist of the series at this point as well. It's called Kazuma Kiryu. Great character, really well written. Same vein as that gruntish kind of nature as Cloud Strife, Solid Snake, those kind of characters, a great past. You have some great, like the scenes in this game is so much. It has Empire Strikes Back vibes, but it has like comedy value as well in there as well. There's some great scenes with like one of the characters called Majima. He'll change your life when you meet him. If you ever play Yakuza, talk to me on Twitter. Like my entire handle's based around Twitter as well. I'm like that. Based on Yakuza. But yeah, 100% recommend it. I'm like so fully engrossed. These are the times where I still play games as well. And like I've decided as well, like because like this came through PS Plus, which is funnily enough, when I decided before I'd cancel it. This is like one of the benefits I've had. But it's like for me, like when I've already decided with one of my friends, I said to him, like the PS Plus membership I cancel next year, the money I take from it, I'm going to buy secondhand games, and those are the games I'm going to own for the year, and I'm going to keep them as well. So I'll probably like go and buy some of the Yakuza games. I'll have them physically released, because whilst it's a benefit of having it for like this example, I don't own my own physical games. And I'm like very much now on the keen idea that I want to own things and I have them for myself. And it's like, and now it's like same with like PS Plus. It's like I don't want it for that. But at the same time, it did give me the benefit of it's given me Yakuza 2, and it's given me Like a Dragon. I don't know if I'll ever get to Like a Dragon by the time I need to cancel my membership. But
yeah,
and I think Like a Dragon's like the 8th entry or something, so it's quite far out from where I'm at the minute. But Yakuza 2, I would 100% start with the series. If you're looking for a starting point in the series, most people start with Yakuza 0. I think you probably would feel a lot better by starting at that point and then going to Kiwami 1. I personally played Kiwami 1 and then went to Yakuza 0. And I think like maybe I would have had a bit more of a funny side and appreciation for Kiwami 1 had I played Yakuza 0 first. But either way, I would recommend Yakuza because I played Yakuza 2. I'm very much deep into it. If you're looking for a starting point, my starting point would be for you to go to Yakuza 0. It's the most popular in the series. It's considered one of the best in the series as well. It's also what put Yakuza on the map in the Western market. And it's probably the easiest you'll get for it in terms of an introduction to a lot of characters, because this has the same, if you're someone who watches like Game of Thrones, if you watch a lot of things, you have to remember a lot of names. You have to remember a lot of names. You need to remember the clans, for example. Like, you need to get your head around how the Tojo clan works, how the Omi alliance works, how the Dojima family works, what part of the Kazama family. You need to understand like how these corporations work and these organizations work. So it's like you get a feel of it, you get an understanding of Kiryu, you get an understanding of Majima, you get an understanding of all the characters. So recommend it 100%. It's Japanese. You play it in the Japanese. Don't play it in the English version. Like, please, God Almighty. I think the Kiwami 1 and 2 are only Japanese anyway, and the same with 0. But play them in the Japanese dub. You get a lot more personality that comes through the performances as well. Anyway, that's my recommendation. So we'll end up here. I hope this episode comes out all right. There's a lot of technical issues. We've literally like jumped on and off this call about 50 times. I've got a lot of editing to do. So hopefully, I'm just hoping there's no issues. And if you're wondering, like, there's moments where I talk very slow, it's because I couldn't catch Adam on the feed. But by the time that we get to the end of the episode, he seems to be fine. There's no issues here on the connection or anything. Like, it's just fine now when we're closing out the episode. But like before, we were kind of like, it's a bit of a here and there. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode. In the comments, do leave us your thoughts on the main topic. Also leave us your thoughts on the Montreal game as well, because obviously we're very excited for that. Do leave us that as well. But as always, I do ask, if you are new here, do please consider dropping subscribe, turn on notifications, like the video and share with your friends. It helps you support the channel. If anything, that's really important for us. And also, StrangeCast is always available on all podcast services. So you can check us out on YouTube. You can check us out on Apple Podcasts. You can check us out on Spotify with a video version. We're available on anything. We are no longer available on Stitcher. Just a reminder, if you are one of those rare anomalies that use Stitcher, we are no longer on it. Stitcher is no longer working. Yes, see, Adam's furious. He gets it through Stitcher account. So, I
love Stitcher.
Stitcher is no longer
my favorite.
Yeah, so we are no longer available on that, but we're available on everything else. So do go and check us out and subscribe and follow as well. Get to keep up to date with our content. In the meantime, we will see you before the end of September with a new episode. Until then, take care, guys. See you later.